We're going to be changing out the rear diff fluid and adding this beefy rear diff cover from Revolution Gear. Hey guys, welcome back. My name's Clint, and like I said in the intro, we're changing out the rear diff fluid. Now, the owner's manual says if you're off-roading your Jeep, the interval's 40,000 miles. I've only got 20 on Napalm. But we went ahead and we had to drain the front when we put the truss and everything on. So went ahead and changed that out and put the front diff cover on. I'm also adding a new rear diff cover. When I take the old one off, I'll compare them, show them to you. It's beat up, so I really needed a more sturdy rear diff cover. What I went with is the Revolution Gear and Axle diff cover. The body is 3/16. The flange is 1/4 inch, and when I compare the OEM to this one, it's quite a difference. It comes bare metal. Obviously I painted it up, made it nice and pretty so I can scratch it up and get it covered with mud. But we're gonna get this put on, get the rear diff fluid changed. We're gonna show you guys how to do that. We're under the rear of the Jeep. Now this is the cool thing about the JLs. The new axles from Dana, they actually have drain plugs in them. On the front diff, it's actually right in the center on the bottom, which is, I think, kind of friggin' stupid because mine is scratched up. It happens, but I'm going to look into a front diff skid just for that, because you don't want to get that all marred up. Now the back one is on the driver's side of the diff right here, and all you need is a 3/8 ratchet or an impact or a breaker bar or something like that, and you just pull it out and let it drain. Now once it drains down a little bit, you can take the fill plug out of the diff cover itself, and that way it'll stop, gurgling out. It'll just flow straight out because it's getting air to it. But you don't want to do that right off the bat because it's liable to run out the back of your diff cover. Let's let that drain all the way out. Okay, so once it's done draining, down to a slow drip like that. Make sure you wipe your plug off because it's magnetic. It's going to catch any small metal particles, shavings, whatnot. Mine didn't have a ton in there, but there was some in there. You want to get that cleaned out. Put your plug back in. Tighten it back up. Yep, this is my junk ratchet. It doesn't need to be on there with a death grip. Just needs to be good and tight. Now, if you have a JK or older, you're not going to be able to do this. This is just on the JLs. If you have a JK or older, the only way to do this is to take these bolts out of your diff cover, break it loose, and all your diff fluid is just going to fall right out. So make sure you have something to catch it underneath it. That's one of the cool things I like about the JLs. We've got a drain plug now. Now to take that diff cover off, using a 10mm. See, there's still some fluid in there, so make sure you keep your drain pan under it. Once you have the OE diff cover off, you'll notice there's a steel and rubber gasket. If you're very careful taking this off, you can reuse it. I reused it on the front and I've not had any issues. Generally speaking, you don't reuse a gasket ever. But over the years I have found that in certain cases, like with diff covers, if it has a rubber gasket and it's not extremely old, you can reuse a rubber gasket on a limited basis. Under no circumstances do you ever reuse a cork gasket. Now that being said, most of the time they don't make gaskets for these. You just use an RTV silicone, but not just any silicone. You should use something like this from Permatex. Gear Oil RTV gasket maker. It's for differentials and transfer cases, and because like if you have a limited slip, you've got a friction modifier in there and that will eat away at the silicone. This is designed to stop that. So if you're going to use silicone on this, just make sure you use silicone that's made for diff covers. I'm going to try to reuse this gasket. And it's coming off nicely. There we go. Just like that. Looks good. That gasket's going to be fine to reuse. Here's some of the damage on my rear diff cover. You can see I hung some rocks right there and smashed it up. Here is one of the bolts. I don't know how well you can see that, but one of the bolts was sheared up, so that wasn't going to be long, and if I continue to hit that, I was going to pull this up a little bit and then I was going to start having leak problems. Now here's the flange comparison. OE, Revolution gear and axle. That's a considerable difference. The one on the right is going to be a whole lot more strong against bouncing off of rocks. Okay, so what I've done here is I put the gasket on the cover and just stuck a couple of bolts through it to make sure it stayed lined up. Put it up here, got the bolts started. Now I don't have to worry about my gasket moving around on me. Also, the Revolution gear and axle diff covers do not come with hardware. Here's the thing. You saw the difference in the width of the flanges. This is the OE bolt, and this is the bolt that I bought to replace it. You can see it's about almost a ½ inch longer. I went to Fastenal because you needed 24 of these. Chances are your local hardware store or Lowe's aren't going to have enough. This is an M8 by 1 1/4 by 30, which means it's an M8 size bolt. It's a metric 8. The thread is a 1.25 pitch and the 30 is the length, so it's almost an inch long. And obviously I painted them to make them look pretty. I went with the cap screws because they didn't have the button heads. I actually wanted the button heads, which are flat on the mounting surface like this, but they're rounded, so they would be less susceptible to being sheared up. But with these cap screws like this, you're using an Allen wrench, so the outer portion of it is not a big deal. Like with just a regular bolt head like you saw on the one that was down here, I couldn't hardly get the socket on it because it was sheared up. What's up?
How's it going?
Just set that down right there. I'll get it.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. You have a great afternoon.
Thanks, you too. Son of a bitch. So after you got all your bolts in, got them tightened down, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you what the torque spec is because I don't know, but I think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 foot-pounds. Now you're ready to put your gear oil in. Now on this cover, this fill plug is a 9/16 Allen head. Very few people have a 9/16 Allen head. It's pretty large. But here's a trick. We've all got bolts, extra parts laying around, right? So if you take a bolt head, 9/16, put some nuts on it, a few washers to space it out, then that becomes your Allen head. It'll fit right in there, just like that, and then you can use a wrench on these nuts to tighten it up. Just passing a little trick along. Now the manual says for my usage, because I don't tow with my Jeep, but I am using it off-road, to use a 75/85 gear oil. Well, guess what? Nobody makes a 75/85 unless you get it from the dealer. 75/90 is going to be just fine. I went with the Royal Purple. That's what we're going to put in it. The owner's manual also does not tell you the capacity. It does not tell you how much to put in. But if you go to your parts store or just look it up online, the capacity on the rear diff is 3.06 pints. There's 2 pints in a quart, so you're looking at just a hair over a pint and a half, or a quart and a half. If you're going to go old school on it, if you take your finger and stick inside the diff cover and you can feel that first knuckle get past the inside lip and then bend your knuckle down like that, if that fluid touches the tip of your finger, you're good. Now also, you can fill it up to where it comes out this drain plug, where it just barely, it's not a drain plug, your fill hole. You can put it in there till it just comes out your fill hole and you're good. A little bit too much is not going to hurt anything. Now this part's a pain in the butt. Another thing you can do is once you get it turned up in here and you get a little bit squeezed out of it, you can poke a hole in the top of your gear oil jug and that'll help it run out. Yeah. I did this on the front too. Don't forget to remove the cap. What a dumbass! Where's that boomer at? He'd be telling me I was doing it wrong. Yeah, don't forget to take that off or nothing will come out. Alright. Okay, wow. Well, that's more than half that. Oh yeah, and I got good fluid on there now. There we go. Yeah, that's right. And I'm on an incline too. My driveway is slanted, so if it had been level, I wouldn't have got all that in there. But a little bit extra, a little bit is not gonna hurt. All right, well, that dude. And that's it. Change the rear diff cover and your rear diff fluid. It's as easy as that. All right, guys, that's literally how easy it is to change your rear diff fluid and or your rear diff cover. If you go to a dealership, they're going to charge you upwards. They're going to charge you over $100 to do what you can do in your driveway with basic hand tools for whatever the fluid costs. Now, obviously, if you're not changing your diff cover, it's a real simple process. Just drain it, pull your fill plug out, put your fluid in. Obviously, I changed out my diff cover, and if you wheel your Jeep, I suggest you changing out your diff cover too. Now, the Revolution gear. I like the diff covers, all right? They're a little bit more expensive than some of the others out there on the market. Motobuilt and CavFab both make basically the exact same cover for about $100, all right, each. The Revolution gear and axle, $140 a piece. Now, the CavFab, I do know comes with mounting hardware. I do not know if the Motobuilt comes with mounting hardware or not. That being said, the fact that these didn't come with mounting hardware didn't really bother me that much, because I wanted to do something different with my bolts anyway. As you can see, I prettied them up and made them look awesome until I take them off-road for the first time. But it's just something to consider. I have no doubt that these are going to last a long time, and I'm not going to have any issues with them. The only thing is the price point there. But that's up to you guys. The main thing is, now you guys know how to do this. It's real simple. I'm all about saving money, because if you can save money here, you can spend it somewhere else on your Jeep. So that's the end of the video for this week. You guys stay tuned for the next one. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Till next time, keep the shiny side up. Jeep on.